جزاكم الله خيرا. الحمد لله وكفى والصلاة والسلام على النبي المصطفى. الحمد لله رب العالمين الذي بنعمته تتم الصالحات. أما بعد, dear brothers and sisters, subhanallah, while we are waiting, inshallah, to hear something good news about our brothers and sisters in Palestine, inshallah, we are recalling from the history the opening of Baytul Maqdis, or the conquest of Baytul Maqdis. I have just heard that there will be a kind of something to happen in 2 days or so, agreement in Palestine, so this is what I'm referring to. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant our brothers and sisters full victory, inshallah, which is gonna happen soon, inshallah. So, back to the history of the opening of Al-Quds. And we have two main characters tonight. The first character is Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, who was the Khalifa of al-Muslimin at that time. The second character, he is actually Sophronius. We mentioned his name before. He was the patriarch, and he was actually in charge of Baytul Maqdis when the Romans was ruling Baytul Maqdis, or were ruling Baytul Maqdis. Tonight, I want to just give you an idea about the Covenant of Umar, al-Uhdatu al-Umariyah, or the impact of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu to the Romans when Muslims invaded or conquested Jerusalem. And we said that Sophronius, the patriarch, decided to surrender the city for the Muslims. And he was a very wise man, actually. And he did. And when Umar ibn al-Khattab came to receive the keys of the gates of Jerusalem, the man had a question. What are going to be the conditions of surrendering and giving you the keys of this great city? And actually, it was narrated that Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu said to him, okay, no problem. Just let's walk into the city. We are going to discuss this while walking inside the city of Jerusalem. When they were talking, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu gave only one condition. He said to him, you know what? I am asking for one thing. What was it? All the Roman politicians to leave Jerusalem. That's it. He said, that's it? He said, yes. Those politicians, those officers, the warriors who were actually days ago fighting against the Muslims, the leaders of the Roman army, anyone can leave Jerusalem, that's it. So you are not gonna enslave them? Sophronius was confused. Really? You are not gonna enslave them? He said, no. So you are gonna take their properties? He said, no. They can leave and they can carry whatever they can carry with them, gold, whatever. Of course, they cannot carry the properties, their houses. So Sophronius was a smart guy. So he asked Umar ibn al-Khattab and said, so you are gonna siege their properties. You are gonna take the properties of people from them. He said, no. The city is gonna stay for the owners of the properties. Everyone is gonna keep his own property. But those politicians are gonna leave and they can carry anything they can carry with them. That's it. Sophronius, of course, was very confused. He was dreaming. He himself, as part of the Roman Empire at that time, if they got such a kind of victory, they would enslave some people, section of the population. They would rape women. They would take the properties of people, and they usually ended up by burning most of the city, if not the entire city. But the situation was completely different with Umar ibn al-Khattab. This is what the only condition. Then they walked. And they came to Kanisatul Qiyamah, the Church of Resurrection. And there, Sophronius offered Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu to pray in the Church of Resurrection. He told him, you can pray your way of prayers, and I'm going to pray next to you. So it's a kind of showing tolerance, showing we are in agreement. And Umar ibn al-Khattab actually said, never. It will never happen. And Sophronius said, why? He said, if I pray in this place, it will come the day the Muslims are going to say, this is the place where Umar ibn al-Khattab, our Khalifa, led prayers and he prayed here, and it's going to be a mosque one day. So I will not do that for you. So actually, the main reason and the person who saved the Church of Resurrection was Umar ibn al-Khattab, the winner, the leader of the winning army. And by the way, he chose an empty place to pray where it is said, it's al-Masjid al-Umari now. This is the place when he prayed when they entered Jerusalem. Someone is going to say, you know, Sophronius was a very nice man. You see how people are tolerant? I want to say he was. I admire his personality. I usually say he was a very wise man. He was a good person. But remember, this was the situation of the person who was defeated. The person who had no say in the situation. The greatest situation we can really pay attention is the status of the winner. The status of the leader of the strongest army in the world at that time who tried to save the church for their owners. And this is actually what happened. None of the churches was demolished. Then the third cornerstone here is actually Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu asked about the temple. You remember we were talking about the Solomon's temple and the second temple that was demolished. So where is the place? And he was shocked when he found out the place was turned to be the garbage dump by the Christians. They made this place a place for garbage to take the revenge from the Jews. And Sayyiduna Umar radiallahu anhu got surprised, and he came down kneeling on his knees, and he began collecting the garbage from the place with a great surprise. And the leaders of the army, of course, including Khalid ibn al-Walid, and so they were coming behind him. And all of a sudden, they found Umar doing so they followed him doing the same thing. What I want to say, finally, the end or the last point for tonight is Umar ibn al-Khattab was the first to call on the Jewish people. Where are the Jewish people here? So friends said, there is no one. We purged the city from any Jew person. And he turned it around to one of the Jewish converts in the Muslim army, and he asked if he can help them invite 80 Jewish family to volunteer, or Jewish families to volunteer for what? To come to live in Jerusalem. So they have this kind of diversity, the Jews, the Christians, and the Muslims in the same city. I want to confirm this is a part of the history. You can read it in Ibn Khaldun, in Al-Bidayah, and in many places, even with the Western people. But I want to read to you what you can find right now, even on the websites of some Jewish people. This is the Covenant of Umar. I'm going to say it to finish tonight. It says, in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. This is the assurance of safety which the servant of God, Umar, the commander of the faithful, has given to the people of Jerusalem. He has given them an assurance of safety for themselves, for their property, their churches, their crosses. The sick, and the healthy of the city, and for all the rituals which belonging to their religion, their churches will not be inhabited by Muslims, and it will not be destroyed. Neither they nor the land on which they stand, nor their cross, nor their property will be damaged. They will not be forcibly converted. No Jew will live with them in Jerusalem. And I want to explain this part. Why this part is in the Covenant of Umar. That was one of the conditions of the Christian people. When Sophronius gave him the keys, he asked them, please, you cannot get the Jews to live in the same neighborhood that we are living in. So this statement was based on what? On the requirements set by the Christian people. So, continue. The people of Jerusalem must pay the taxes like the people of other cities, and they must expel the Byzantines and the robbers. Those of the people of Jerusalem who want to live with Byzantines, take their property and abandon their churches and crosses will be safe until they reach their place of refuge. The villagers may remain in the city if they wish, but must pay taxes like the citizens. Those who wish may go with the Byzantines, and those who wish may return to their families. Nothing is to be taken from them before their harvest. If they pay their taxes according to the obligations, then the conditions laid out in this letter are under the covenant of God, are the responsibility of prophets, of the caliphs, and of the faithful. This was the covenant of Umar ibn al-Khattab when we were the winners. For the first time, after 500 years of being occupied by only the Romans, the Christians, the first time for the history of the city to have this great religious diversity, religious tolerance under the leadership and the governance of the Muslim people. Now, Muslims, Christians, and Jews are gonna, for the first time after 500 years, come back to find a house in Jerusalem. اللهم اهدنا فيمن هديت وتولنا فيمن توليت وعافنا فيمن عافيت اللهم انصر إخواننا المستضعفين في فلسطين يا رب العالمين اللهم مدهم بمدد من عندك وأيدهم بجندك وانصرهم بنصرك يا رب العالمين اللهم إن جندك لا يغلبون وهم جندك يا أكرم الأكرمين اللهم فلا يغلبون وأنت وليهم يا أرحم الراحمين وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلاة وسلاما على المرسلين وجزاكم الله خيرا.